You feel it, don't you? That deep, persistent hum beneath the surface of your everyday thoughts, a wellspring of creative power vast and largely untapped. You sense there's more to your creative capacity than the flashes of inspiration you occasionally grasp. You're right, what you're sensing is the call of your authentic creative self, a self that yearns to be unlocked, unleashed, and expressed in its fullest, most potent form. This isn't about learning a new technique or a trendy productivity hack. This is about the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential, a journey into the very architecture of your mind, a journey that promises not just more creativity but more you. The insights of Carl Jung offer us a profound and at times brutally challenging path to excavate the raw, untamed forces that lie within, and to channel them into work that is not only original but deeply resonant and transformative. Forget the superficial, we're going deep. This is the path for those who are tired of skimming the surface, for those ready to confront the depths to unearth the treasure. This is the Jungian key. Our first step in grasping the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential is to understand the terrain, the vast, mysterious landscape of the unconscious mind. Jung's model of the psyche isn't just an academic curiosity. It's a map to the hidden continents within you where true creativity is born. He showed us that our conscious mind, the part we identify with daily, our thoughts, our ego, is merely the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies the personal unconscious, a repository of our forgotten memories, our repressed experiences, our subliminal perceptions. And deeper still, the collective unconscious, a vast, ancient ocean of shared human experience containing the archetypes, the primordial images and patterns that have shaped human thought and feeling for millennia. The brutal truth is this: if you're attempting to create solely from your conscious, logical mind, you are operating with a fraction of your power. You are like a painter trying to capture a sunset with only the color gray. The conscious mind is excellent for editing, refining, structuring, but the raw material, the vibrant, unexpected, illogical bursts of genius, these arise from the depths. The unconscious is not a dumping ground for unwanted thoughts. It is the fertile chaos from which all newness springs. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in gut feelings, in synchronicities. To ignore it, to fear it, to dismiss its whispers as irrational noise, is to deliberately sever yourself from the primary wellspring of your creative energy. This is why so much creative work feels sterile, derivative, or hollow. It lacks the lifeblood of the unconscious. When you learn to listen to this inner world, to respect its language, you open a direct channel to an infinite source of inspiration. Action here begins with reverence. Start by paying attention. Keep a dream journal not just to record bizarre narratives, but to look for recurring themes, symbols, emotions. When an idea or image pops into your head seemingly from nowhere, don't just dismiss it. Write it down, meditate on it. Ask yourself, what is my unconscious trying to tell me? What part of me is seeking expression? This isn't about instant answers, but about cultivating a relationship with the deeper, wiser parts of your psyche. This relationship is fundamental to using the Jungian key. Now let us turn to one of the most potent and often most feared aspects of the Jungian path to creativity, the shadow. Your shadow represents all the parts of yourself that you have disowned, repressed, and denied, the aspects you deem unacceptable, dark, or negative according to your personal standards, your upbringing, or societal pressures. It's the anger you suppress, the ambition you hide, the vulnerability you fear, the unconventional desires you bury. And here's the brutal, liberating truth: your shadow is not your enemy. It is a goldmine of creative energy, raw power, and profound authenticity. Trying to create while denying your shadow is like trying to write a symphony using only the major keys. You miss all the depth, the tension, the complexity that makes art truly compelling. Society, and perhaps your own inner critic, has taught you to keep these parts locked away. But what happens when you do? This repressed energy doesn't just vanish, it festers. It projects onto others. The traits you can't stand in other people are often reflections of your own unacknowledged shadow. It can erupt in self-sabotaging behaviors, creative blocks born of fear, or a pervasive sense of inauthenticity. Your creativity becomes timid, polite, desperate to please, because you're terrified of what might emerge if you let the unacceptable parts of yourself have a voice. But what if, instead of fearing your shadow, you were to turn and face it? What if you were to understand that within that darkness lies immense strength, passion, and unique perspective? The artist who can embrace their shadow can create characters with genuine flaws and believable motivations. They can explore themes of conflict, pain, and redemption with honesty and power. They can tap into a primal energy that makes their work electrifying and unforgettable. Think of the compelling anti-heroes in literature, the raw emotion in certain musical genres, the unsettling beauty in visual art that explores the darker aspects of human experience. This is often shadow material brought into the light, integrated and transformed. Integrating your shadow isn't about becoming a bad person, it's about becoming a whole person. It's about reclaiming the lost parts of your psychic energy. How do you begin this courageous work, this essential turn of the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential? First, radical self-honesty. Observe your projections. When you have an intensely negative emotional reaction to someone, ask yourself, what is it in them that I might be denying in myself? Explore your negative traits. Is that stubbornness also a source of incredible determination? Is that oversensitivity also a capacity for deep empathy? Begin to express these shadow aspects creatively in a safe space. Write from the perspective of your anger, paint your fear, compose the music of your hidden sorrows or your untamed joy. The more you consciously engage with and integrate your shadow, the more authentic, powerful, and unique your creative voice will become. You stop policing your expression and start allowing its full spectrum. This is not just a psychological exercise, it is a profound act of creative liberation. Having acknowledged the fertile darkness of the shadow, we now explore another cornerstone of Jung's thought crucial for unlocking creative potential: archetypes. Archetypes are the universal, primordial images, patterns of behavior, and symbolic figures that reside in the collective unconscious, that deeper layer of the psyche shared by all humanity. Think of the hero, the sage, the innocent, the orphan, the lover, the creator, the ruler, the jester, the magician, the outlaw, the caregiver. These aren't just characters in stories, they are fundamental structures of human experience, blueprints of the soul. Why are archetypes so vital for the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential? Because they provide a direct line to universal resonance. When your creative work taps into an archetype, it speaks a language that everyone on some deep, intuitive level understands. It connects with shared human experiences, fears, hopes, and aspirations. This is why certain stories, characters, and artistic themes endure across cultures and generations. They are built upon these timeless archetypal foundations. The brutal truth here is that if your creative work feels superficial, forgettable, or fails to connect emotionally, it may be because you are not consciously or deeply engaging with these potent universal forms. You might be operating purely on the surface of individual experience, without grounding your work in the shared bedrock of human meaning. Archetypes are not rigid molds to be slavishly copied. They are dynamic energies, flexible frameworks that can be expressed in infinite variations. The hero's journey can manifest in a blockbuster movie or in a quiet poem about overcoming personal adversity. The sage can be a wise old mentor or an inner voice of intuition. The trickster can be a source of comic relief or a catalyst for radical change. Understanding archetypes allows you to infuse your work with layers of meaning, to create characters that feel both unique and universally relatable, to structure narratives that have an inherent sense of momentum and significance. How do you begin to work with archetypes to fuel your creativity? Start by identifying which archetypes resonate most strongly with you personally. Which ones show up in your dreams, your fantasies, your favorite stories? These are likely your dominant archetypes, offering clues to your own inherent strengths and creative inclinations. Then consciously explore how archetypes function in the art forms you love. Analyze films, books, paintings, music. How is the hero archetype expressed? What about the shadow archetype, often personified? How do archetypal relationships, e.g., mentor-hero, lover-lover, drive the narrative or emotional impact? When you begin a new creative project, consider which archetypes might be at play. Are you telling a story of innocence, lost orphan, a quest for forbidden knowledge, magician sage, a rebellion against conformity, outlaw? Using archetypes as a starting point or a deepening tool can provide structure, depth, and a powerful connection to your audience's unconscious. They are not limitations, but gateways to richer, more meaningful creation. They are threads in the tapestry of the collective unconscious that you, the creative individual, can weave into new and compelling patterns, unlocking a more profound and universally appealing dimension of your work. Flowing from the universal forms of archetypes, we delve into a more personal, yet equally powerful, aspect of the Jungian psyche crucial for creativity: the anima and animus. Jung described the anima as the unconscious feminine aspect within a man's psyche, and the animus as the unconscious masculine aspect within a woman's psyche. These are not simply about gender roles, they represent the contrasexual soul image, the inner counterpart that, when engaged, connects us to a wellspring of inspiration, intuition, and profound emotional depth. The anima in a man, when undeveloped or projected, can lead to moodiness, sentimentality, or an unhealthy dependence on external women for validation or inspiration. However, a man who consciously engages with his anima finds access to his capacity for relatedness, his intuition, his connection to nature, art, and the world of images, often experienced as the muse. The animus in a woman, when unconscious or negatively expressed, can manifest as opinionated argumentation, rigid thinking, or a destructive inner critic. But a woman who integrates her animus discovers her inner strength, her capacity for clear thought, assertiveness, courage, and the ability to bring her creative visions into concrete reality. The brutal truth regarding the anima and animus in relation to the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential is this: an unacknowledged or poorly integrated inner counterpart can severely cripple your creative flow. If you as a man are cut off from your anima, your work may lack feeling, depth, or that magical spark of inspiration. You might chase external muses endlessly, never realizing the true source lies within. If you, as a woman, are dominated by a negative animus, your creative impulses might be constantly shot down by an inner voice telling you you're not good enough, or your ideas are foolish, or you lack the capability to execute them. Your creativity becomes stifled by self-criticism and doubt. True creative power blossoms when there is a healthy dialogue and integration between the conscious ego and these contrasexual aspects. The anima provides the connection to the soul, the images, the feelings, the eros principle that desires connection and meaning. The animus provides the logos, the ability to discern, to structure, to act, to bring form to the formless. Together, they create a dynamic inner partnership that fuels profound creativity. Your anima animus is your bridge to the collective unconscious, your inner guide to the realm of archetypes and symbols. How can you begin to cultivate a relationship with your anima or animus? Pay attention to figures that appear in your dreams, especially those of the opposite sex who evoke strong emotions or seem to possess a special wisdom or power. These are often personifications of your anima animus. Engage with these figures through writing or art. What do they want to say to you? What qualities do they embody that you need to integrate? For men, this might involve cultivating receptivity, allowing emotions, exploring artistic expression that feels more feminine. For women, it might involve developing assertiveness, trusting your independent judgment, pursuing intellectual or ambitious goals that a negative animus might have previously discouraged. This isn't about conforming to stereotypes. It's about becoming whole by embracing the full spectrum of human potential within you. By fostering this inner relationship, you don't just find a muse, you become your own muse, unlocking a sustained and deeply personal source of creative inspiration and power. Now we arrive at one of Jung's most direct and potent tools for engaging the unconscious and unlocking creative potential: active imagination. This is not mere daydreaming or passive fantasizing. Active imagination is a conscious, deliberate, and disciplined technique for entering into a dialogue with the figures and contents of your unconscious mind. It is, in essence, a way to turn the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential with focused intent. Many people experience creative blocks because their conscious mind, with its logic and its inner critic, shuts down the spontaneous, often symbolic offerings of the unconscious. Active imagination provides a method to bypass this censorship and directly access the raw material of creativity. It's a way of allowing the unconscious to speak and then actively engaging with what it presents. The brutal truth is that active imagination requires courage and commitment. It can sometimes bring you face to face with uncomfortable emotions, challenging images, or aspects of your shadow. It's not always a pleasant walk in a sunlit meadow. It can be a descent into the depths. But it is in these depths that the most original and transformative creative insights are often found. How does one practice active imagination? It typically begins by focusing on a particular mood, a dream image, a spontaneous fantasy, or even a physical sensation. You fix your attention on the starting point and allow it to develop a life of its own without conscious direction or censorship. Let images arise, let figures appear, let a scene unfold. Then, and this is crucial, you participate. You can speak to the figures that emerge, ask them questions, respond to their actions. You engage with this inner drama as if it were real, while maintaining a foothold in your conscious awareness. You are both participant and observer. The experience can unfold through visualization, or you might choose to express it through automatic writing, painting, sculpting, dancing, or any other creative medium. The key is to let the unconscious lead and to interact with it authentically. The purpose is not necessarily to interpret these experiences intellectually, at least not initially, but to experience them, to allow them to transform you and to provide new energy and new perspectives. The material that emerges from active imagination can be a direct source of creative inspiration: a story, a character, a melody, a visual concept. More profoundly, the very process of engaging with your unconscious in this way can shift your entire creative stance. It can dissolve old blocks, heal inner conflicts, and open up new channels of perception. It teaches you to trust the wisdom of your inner world, to see it not as a source of chaos, but as an infinite wellspring of novelty and meaning. This is a powerful, advanced technique, and while it can be done alone, some may benefit from guidance, especially when dealing with intense material. But even a gentle, consistent practice of allowing your inner images to come alive and engaging with them can begin to unlock doors you never knew existed, pouring fresh, potent energy into all your creative endeavors. As we journey deeper with the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential, we encounter what Jung considered the ultimate goal of psychological development, and, by extension, the ultimate foundation for authentic creative expression: individuation. Individuation is the lifelong process of becoming your true, whole, and unique self. It is about differentiating yourself from collective norms and expectations, integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of your psyche, including the shadow and anima animus, and realizing your fullest innate potential. It is, in essence, the journey to becoming who you were always meant to be. Why is individuation so central to unlocking true creative potential? Because authentic creativity springs from an authentic self. If you are living a life dictated by external pressures, by a desire to conform, by a fear of your own uniqueness, your creative output will inevitably reflect this. It may be technically proficient, it may even be popular, but it will lack that unmistakable stamp of a singular vision, that resonant depth that comes from work born of a deeply lived and integrated identity. The brutal truth is that many people shy away from the path of individuation. It requires immense courage to shed the false selves, the masks you wear to gain approval or avoid conflict. It demands that you confront your conditioning, question your assumptions, and embrace the often uncomfortable journey of self-discovery. As a result, their creativity remains a pale imitation of what it could be, forever tethered to the superficial or the derivative. Individuation is not about becoming isolated or selfishly narcissistic. Paradoxically, it is by becoming more truly ourselves that we connect most profoundly with humanity. When you dare to express your unique perspective, shaped by your personal journey of integrating your light and your darkness, your strengths and your vulnerabilities, you create work that speaks to the individuality in others. Your authentic voice awakens their authentic voice. Your willingness to explore the uncharted territories of your own psyche gives them permission to explore theirs. The process of individuation fuels creativity in countless ways. As you integrate your shadow, you gain access to a richer palette of emotions and themes. As you connect with your anima or animus, you tap into deeper sources of inspiration and intuitive wisdom. As you engage with archetypes from a place of personal understanding, your work gains universal resonance without sacrificing its uniqueness. The very act of striving for wholeness, of wrestling with your inner conflicts and complexities, becomes the raw material for your art. Your life, in its messy, beautiful, ongoing unfolding, becomes your greatest creative project, and all other creative expressions become facets of this larger work. The actionable step here is a profound mindset shift. Commit to your own personal growth as the ultimate foundation for your creative growth. Embrace self-reflection. Question your motives. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Seek experiences that challenge you and expand your understanding of yourself and the world. Understand that every step you take towards becoming more authentically yourself is a step towards unlocking a deeper, more powerful, and more meaningful creative potential. Individuation is not a separate task from your creative life. It is the fertile ground from which your most potent and original creations will spring. It is the ultimate unfolding that the Jungian Key is designed to facilitate. Finally, in our exploration of the Jungian Key to unlocking your true creative potential, we must address a common and often debilitating obstacle: psychological complexes. Jung defined complexes as emotionally charged clusters of ideas, memories, and images that reside in the personal unconscious, often stemming from past experiences, particularly those that were difficult, traumatic, or unresolved. These complexes act like psychic knots, disrupting the free flow of energy and often sabotaging our best intentions, especially in the realm of creativity. Think of common creative blocks: the paralyzing fear of failure, the obsessive need for perfection, chronic procrastination, crippling self-doubt, the feeling that you're an imposter. These aren't just character flaws or a lack of discipline. More often than not, they are the surface manifestations of underlying complexes. For example, a not good enough complex, perhaps rooted in childhood criticism, can make you terrified to share your work or even to start a project, for fear of confirming that deep-seated negative belief. An abandonment complex might make you cling to safe, unoriginal ideas, afraid that true self-expression will lead to rejection. The brutal truth about complexes is that they operate largely unconsciously, yet they exert enormous power over your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. You might consciously desire to be creative, to finish that novel, to paint that picture, but an unacknowledged complex can act like an invisible saboteur, constantly undermining your efforts. Ignoring these complexes is like trying to drive a car with the emergency brake permanently engaged. You expend a massive amount of energy but make little progress, and eventually you burn out. Recognizing and working with your complexes is therefore an essential part of unlocking your creative potential. How do you do this? First, become an astute observer of your own patterns. When do you feel most blocked creatively? What specific thoughts and emotions arise? Do these patterns have roots in your past? For instance, if you consistently abandon projects just before completion, what feeling are you avoiding? Success, judgment. Journaling about these patterns can help bring the underlying complex into greater awareness. Once a complex is partially identified, the work involves several stages. One is to depersonalize it somewhat, to understand that this isn't me, but rather a psychic fragment, a pattern that has taken hold. This creates some distance and reduces self-blame. Then you can begin to challenge the negative beliefs and assumptions that the complex fosters. If a complex whispers, "You have no original ideas," you can actively seek out evidence to the contrary or consciously decide to create despite that voice. Importantly, creative expression itself can be a powerful way to work through complexes. You can personify your inner critic and write a dialogue with it. You can paint the feeling of your fear. You can use the themes and emotions related to your complex as raw material for your art, transforming the poison into medicine. Working with complexes is not about eliminating them entirely. They are to some extent part of the human psyche. It's about reducing their unconscious grip, understanding their origins, and integrating the energy they hold in a more constructive way. As you loosen the hold of these psychic knots, you free up enormous amounts of energy that can then be channeled into your creative pursuits. The resistance you once felt begins to dissolve, replaced by a greater sense of freedom, flow, and resilience. Confronting your complexes is a courageous act, a vital step in clearing the rust from the Jungian Key, allowing it to turn smoothly and unlock the vast creative chambers within you. This is deep work, demanding honesty and persistence, but the reward is a creative life lived with far greater power and authenticity. We have journeyed through the intricate and potent landscape of the Jungian psyche, exploring the fundamental elements that constitute the Jungian key to unlocking your true creative potential. We've seen that this key is not a simple trick or a superficial technique. It is a profound commitment to inner work, a courageous engagement with the totality of who you are. It involves delving into the vast ocean of the unconscious, the true wellspring of all original thought and inspiration. It demands the bravery to confront and integrate your shadow, transforming repressed energy into authentic power and unique perspective. It means learning to recognize and work with the archetypes, those universal blueprints of imagination that allow your creations to resonate with a timeless shared humanity. It calls for a conscious relationship with your anima or animus, your inner counterpart, your bridge to soul and profound inspiration. It invites you to practice active imagination, the art of dialoguing directly with your creative core, bypassing the censorious ego. It requires an understanding of your complexes, those psychic knots that bind your energy, and the willingness to untangle them. And ultimately, it guides you on the path of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming your most authentic self, from which your most authentic and powerful creative work will inevitably flow. The brutal honesty of the Jungian path is that it is not easy. It demands self-reflection, courage, and a willingness to embrace the uncomfortable, the unknown, the parts of yourself you may have long avoided. But the empowering truth is that this path leads to a depth and richness of creative expression that superficial methods can never touch. It's the difference between being a competent technician and a true artist, a conduit for something larger than yourself. It's about unlocking not just more ideas, but a more profound way of being in the world, where your creativity becomes an extension of your evolving soul. So the call to action is clear. Do not let these insights remain mere intellectual curiosities. The Jungian Key is meant to be used. Begin today. Choose one aspect we've discussed, perhaps dream journaling to connect with your unconscious, or identifying a projection to start your shadow work, or consciously looking for archetypal patterns in the world around you. Take that first step, however small. Commit to the journey inward. Embrace the challenge, for within that challenge lies the seed of your greatest creative power. The world doesn't need another imitation, another echo. It needs your unique voice, your authentic vision unearthed from the depths of your being. Take the Jungian Key to unlocking your true creative potential, turn it with courage and persistence, and step into the boundless creative life that awaits you. Your true potential is not just a dream, it is a destiny waiting to be claimed. Unlock it.